This is Juan Neal, Loose Cannon Lifestyle brand, the official sponsor of Blue Tigers Fitted. It's cold outside and your tax returns haven't came in yet. If you don't have a big girl to keep yourself warm in some Loose Cannon Lifestyle gear. Use the promo code BTF at checkout on my website, shoplcls.com, and receive 30% off the entire order. If you don't have a big girl to keep yourself warm, once she sees that Loose Cannon gear, you'll probably have to beat her off with a pork chop. So listen to Blue Tigers Fitted and buy my clothes.
Hey, this is Constance.
Hey, it's your boy Jumpman Boston.
Yo, what up? It's LV. What's the deal? This your boy Chase Money.
This is Juan Neal.
We got Teek, B, and Sherm.
Teek, Sherm, and B.
My homies B, Tico, and Sherm.
I'm tuning into Blue Tigers Fitted podcast every Thursday with my dudes Tico, Sherm, and B.
Blue Tigers Fitted, BlueTigersFitted.com. It's the Blue Tigers Fitted show. Coming to new logo.
New logo.
New logo.
New logo.
Look. Added the fourth.
Yep.
Regular ass time. He's absent right now, but
A little bit absent.
he'll be back. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Regular ass time will be back. But it's episode 34.
34, man.
Sure.
Sherm.
Triple X IV.
Triple X IV.
As he looks through his phone to make sure he got it correctly.
Let's make sure he's got the IV
Front
right.
on.
Yeah, front on you over there. What up, though, B? Sir, what up, though, man?
What up, though?
It's 313 day.
It is.
It is. Not by the time you hear this.
No.
But as of right now, it's recorded.
It's also the damn daylight saving time, man.
Yeah,
Lost an hour of sleep.
Forward.
Oh my God.
Can we get rid of daylight savings?
Who like thought of that shit?
Farmers.
We talked about that last time.
Farmers.
Farmers.
The government.
Yes.
Yeah, I said Bush.
Of course you say Bush.
I said Bush last
Might
time.
as well say Trump as well.
Yeah, just blame Trump. Blame Trump and Bush for all of that shit.
No, you
Daylight
blame
saving time.
Obama. Obama gets blamed for everything. It's his fault.
It's his fault.
Wait a minute. Now, why are you gonna blame me? I've done nothing to the people. I've just tried to make sure that the blue states and the red states can all live in harmony.
We officially do not have Barack Obama
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
or
just
President
so you know,
Barack
just so
Obama
you know,
here in the
just so you
studio.
know.
But we do have someone special in the
We do have some special in the house. We got my man, Mr. James Morris himself.
Peace, y'all. How
Okay,
y'all doing?
DSE, what's good, baby?
What's good,
What's good?
What's good?
Pleasure to get you on the show, sir.
Yes.
You know, long time coming, man. Long time coming.
You know what?
Pause on a long time.
Pause.
Yeah.
Yeah, pause. But yeah.
That's like cool. No, it's you know, like, and you know, it's funny, man. It's just that just being able, and I told you before when we were talking pregame, it's like this is literally like the second like real big interview that I ever done, because I literally like I'm a hermit. I don't do nothing.
Yeah.
Like I'm like,
Well.
in fact, it's like y'all done offer me a little bit of drink, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm regretting this already. But it's like as I take a sip.
Let's take a sip. Yeah, man, you got to get hit up with the BTF juice, man.
Oh,
You
so
know,
it keep me
as
honest.
as all of our guests do as they come to the show.
Yeah.
We want to thank
for the
you,
free
man.
booze, really.
Yeah. You
Let's be
know,
honest here.
No. This is what they say. So, I'm a functioning alcoholic. Shit, and I spilled the shit right in front of me. I'm glad.
That's mostly Sherm over there.
No. I have experienced a lot, and I love them, because the thing about it is they can give you like 20, 30 years of knowledge and still like be talking shit the whole damn time.
Yeah.
So I love it.
So James, man, tell the people what it is that you do. DSE. What is the term DSE?
Well,
stand for, represent?
DSE, and I always got to make sure I talk slow when I say DSE, but it stands for Definitive Style Exclusive.
Okay.
And really the concept of DSE when it started was it really was just so this idea like sort of birthed it. Like, I'm going to say exactly what I said before. It's like I started DSE initially when I was in college. Okay. So like I was starting like I was doing graphic design work and everything like that in college, and I was also sort of like inspiring beat maker. Okay. So like DSE originally standing for Detroit Style Entertainment, because I had the avenue of photography, doing marketing, stuff like that, and then also I was doing the beat making. So years later, I've always been into the arts, so like DSE, if you come to the store, it's like it's mostly like clothes and all that. So everybody's like, so you're into fashion or you're into this? And I have told people now this, it's like, I like to create shit. It's like I like to make stuff, and whatever avenue that I feel like this is what I want to make, I'm going to learn it and I'm going to apply it, and that's what you find in the store. So like when I was doing photography for years, which I think was it from 2002 to up until really I still do photography to this day. I was going around everywhere, in Detroit. Excuse me.
It's the BTF juice.
Yeah. Like I said, we keep it real.
Indeed.
So I literally, was just like really involved in that and then doing side stuff like, with family and everything like that to make sure that, I pay bills and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And when I started DSE, it literally was at a time when I was sort of like at my lowest because my dad had passed.
Okay.
And at that time, I was like, I left Detroit because I was really distraught. I just wanted to get out of Detroit and just sort of like get my head right. So when I was dealing with this, and you probably remember them, the GOAT, Greatest of All Time Sneaker Boutique.
Absolutely.
So I used to do in-house photography for them, back in the day. So all their
that
sneaks,
shop didn't last too long.
they literally like were here today, gone today.
Yeah, like a few months. Like they were in the GOAT, Greatest of All Time was like supposed to be a sneaker, like upscale sneaker boutique. And correct me if I'm wrong, there was like 2 levels where I guess you could only the exclusive level.
The second level was, and it's still like this in that spot to this day, because I mean the GOAT's not there, but still being rented out. They literally, I'm gonna tell you this, they did a hell of a build out in that spot, because before that spot was like nothing.
Yeah.
And they did a hell of a build out. Like one of the cats that was involved with it, he had actually not. I don't want to misquote, but I know he worked like in the industry, in the record industry.
Yeah, from what I remember. Yep, you're right. You're right.
So he was well plugged and all that, but he was sort of back and forth between Detroit and New York. And then one cat that worked with them, like he was sort of the person funding it, but he didn't really want to be like the face.
Sure.
So one of the cats, and him is Francis. He would be working there. So I really more built a friendship with him because he was the only motherfucker there.
Yeah, that's true.
So
he's right. That's true. Yeah, it's true. Shout out to Francis 313 on IG.
And so what happened is that I left Detroit and then I came back, and I'm literally like, okay, so I'm doing this photography, but my mind's not really in it. So one day I was in the shop at the GOAT, and I just happened to have a box of shirts with me, not mine, but it was actually this company that I was dealing with doing work for called Exact Science out of San Francisco. And I showed Francis the shirt. I'm like, man, I would love to be involved with the GOAT. Now this time I had a little bit of cash in my pocket, and my whole thing was that I'm trying to find something to get out the house, because I didn't want to be in the house and all that after everything that happened with my dad. So I was like, I got to get the fuck out the house.
Yeah.
So literally that same day, and I'll never forget it. It was a Friday, late March. I go into this coffee shop that was right next door to the GOAT. It was called Espresso Jazzy Cafe. And the owner there is like, seeing the shirts. I gave him a couple of shirts, and he's like, man, this is real dope, and and all of that. So he was saying, you need to be selling this stuff yourself. And I'm just looking at him like, yeah, right, okay. Photographer.
Right.
Yeah, I really don't. I'm not trying to do that.
Right.
But he says, but you know what? You need to check out this spot that's right down the street. And I think he was telling me at the time it was like $400. So at least when he told me that, I'm like, I can at least listen.
Yeah, it's kind of perked up a little bit. Yeah.
So I looked at the spot, small ass spot, like slot walls, and I'm looking it through the window. But the thing was, like I said, it's on a Friday, late Friday. I knew nobody's probably going to be asking about it. Like the person, who runs the building probably isn't there.
Right.
So it gave me a weekend to at least think, is this something that I want to do? Because I'm like, I never, ever in my life had ever sat back and thought to myself, I'm going to sit in the store and sell shit.
Yeah. Now prior to you, opening up a shop, I mean, for people that have heard a little bit already, like, what were you doing? I know you said you do photography and out of school. What were you doing? What was like your jobs before you decided to start your own business?
Let's see. So I always have been a hustler. Like when I was 6 years old, I started a car wash and would go around to neighbors and rake leaves and all of that. But my first real job actually was working at and this will show my age, at Marshall Fields right after it became from Marshall Fields from Hudson's. Yeah. So I was working out at Briarwood. I was going to Eastern at the time.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. So
Briarwood Mall.
Oh yeah, take the Washington bus up to Briarwood and there we go. And and then with some horror stories there. I'll never forget when it was like cold as shit outside, and I'm like, because you got to be dressed in your best. So I'm standing out there, like with a windshield, probably like 10 below, no long johns on, and then the bus is late. So like the wind's cutting at me, and then of course I'm late to work. So of course my boss is like, well, you're late, and I'm sitting back like thinking in my head, motherfucker, do you know what the fuck I've been through out this damn wind? You better be lucky my ass is here.
You got them breathe right pants, boy.
Needless to say, I knew then I never was cut out to like work. So like what I kept, like to keep money in my pocket, my uncle, he actually does interior design work, like wallpapering and painting. So when I had left Eastern, like not under my choice, but when I left Eastern, he offered me a job to be his apprentice. So it allowed me to sort of learn his industry, and I worked with him for about 3 years, and probably it was the best thing that could happen, because when I had the opportunity to open DSE, it was like, I got this information, how to paint, I know how to build stuff out, all of that. So it was like, just imagine that it's like all these things that as a business owner, you're like, okay, I got to go through the LLCs and all this other type of stuff. Now I got to hire somebody to build out my shop and all this. It's like,
You
nope.
already know how to do it.
I already knew how to do it. So,
So you didn't walk into it with like any fear, with any intrepidation or anything. You just like, hey, let's just do it.
well, the thing is that early on, like, my grandmother, who's still in business now, she's a business owner in the city. So I'm actually a third business generation owner in the city of Detroit.
Okay.
So my grandmother's the first, and really my grandfather, rest in peace, I never got a chance to meet who I share his middle name, Charles Pryor. He was like, stories I hear about him now, it's like, damn, he was a motherfucker in the city, So I come from that. So it's like, I was very blessed that I was able to see that as a kid. So that's why, like I said, I knew early on, I'm doing my own thing. I'm not working for somebody. Even my dad, like before he passed, I remember I was in college and I was like, I was sort of just, I just didn't want to go to school, because it wasn't like a thing like I'm having trouble. It's just I wasn't motivated, like to go to school. And not to say anybody who's listening who's younger, it's like, I don't tell anybody never get an education. Educate yourself, whether it's, finish high school. If you decide to go to college, cool. Even if you don't, continue to educate yourself.
Well, there's a difference between education and the college hustle.
Oh yeah, it's
A
like
lot of people get caught up in that.
you can have a college hustle at college. Like I hustle college all the damn time.
Yeah.
I'm at that campus like, hey, if you heard of DSE, so I'm getting my money back. Right. But so I mean, that's like robbing Peter to pay Paul, but whatever. It's like But so my dad, when I told him, like I wanted to like just sort of, get a job, help him out with the bills, he said this, and this is an exact quote: I got the bills. You take care of what you need to take care of, so you can, like take care of your business and do what you need to do. Wow. I got you. Yeah. So he never was one, because how there's some parents out there, if you say you're gonna get a job, cool. Cool, but he just did not, and this was months before he passed. So he literally was like a big support. In fact, truth be told, if you ever have been into the shop, if you notice right behind my counter is a picture of him that I keep, because he is really, in a sense, I'm the person that, is the person that, like brought it to fruition. Sure. He, truth be told, was the founder, because he instilled in that, him and my mother and my grandmother, all my family, but he was one of the biggest supporters who instilled in me early on that this is what, like, you should be doing. Follow your dreams.
Sure. I was just going to say that probably was like a huge, motivation. Like, it almost felt like, I've got to carry this out. I got to kind of see this through, because Pops, like you said, was there, was kind of behind the scenes with it, do your thing, and then, hear, unexpected death, and then boom, it's like. Yeah,
so at that point you're lost, because, I'm 23 at the time, and I'm like, so what do I do? It's like, I got this house that I got in probate, so I got to, pay the mortgage and all of this. It's like I got a little bit of cash, I ain't gonna lie, but it's like, that shit only lasts so long, because you can blow through that like nothing. Yeah. So my whole thing was that either you get a job or you follow your dreams. And, like, thank God I chose the latter. So, like I said, I literally, after that day, going back to that Friday of that March 08, I went home and I literally just, like, for Saturday and Sunday, I'm just like, do I want to do this? Like, praying about it, like doing research. And then, really, when I looked at my numbers and I'm like, I got something that I can go ahead. So I just said, okay. I talked to the woman who owned the building. Her name is Jean, and like, she's James, do you have your rent? That type of lady. Yeah. Like, I've always said, it's like, she is, I love her, but she is about her business, like, so. And I talked to her and was just like, I'm interested in the spot, but I need a week before I sign the lease to just really come up with a business plan. Can you let me do that? And she was cool. She let me do that. So it gave me a time to really buckle down my numbers, come up with an actual budget of how much it would cost to get shirts in there, get the stuff I wanted to sell, like if I had to travel to get stuff. And I said that I gave myself pretty much a 6-month plan. Okay. If this shit don't work out in 6 months, I can easily bail out, work at DT or some shit like that.
So 6 months turned into
8 years.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And going.
Yeah, and going.
Yeah, and going.
Yeah.
So,
well, let me ask, where can we find you at?
You can find me, funny enough, as I hear you on your show, the internets.
The
first thing I tell anybody, because I got the physical store, but I tell anybody, sometimes it's hard for us to get up in the morning or get out, downtown. So the first thing is DSE Detroit, Definitive Style Exclusive Detroit.com, DSE Detroit.
And we'll have that in the link description as well.
Cool. So. And then you can find me downtown at 202 East Grand River off of Broadway. So I'm like adjacent from the YMCA, right across the street from the Opera House Garage. So, yes.
So you're right in the middle of all the new development and all this.
Yeah.
So let me ask you that too. Like when coming up, right, with these ideas, like, 23 years old, not, doing some research, a little cash in your pocket, making things happen, trying to develop this business plan. What things did you turn to, or what people, I guess, did you turn to for like maybe inspiration of what maybe you wanted to sell product wise? Like, were there certain stores either in the city or in other states that maybe you visited that'd be like, yo, I could take a little bit from this and I could twist this, or I can do this better than that store because I know I would change this and make this way. Like, was there any inspiration behind it?
It's funny because like the whole thing for me was like, number one, I said my grandmother, like who I talked to first, and one of the first ththings she told me before I even opened up the business was that you have to remember that you're selling you. Like, people mostly like, it's, if you got the good product, they'll come, but really they're buying you, especially if you're there all the time. So that was number one, and then, like right down the street from me, who's been doing it for years, is Spectacles. And she's like the OG of the game. And I give her a lot of respect. Like I talk to her probably at least once or twice a week and just go down there and just see how she's doing and everything like that. And it's crazy because she was at one point, like with all the development, as you said, downtown, was in danger of losing her spot because her building was sold. But through, like a few media outlets and, like I'm sure bad press for the person buying the building, they ended up giving her a deal and she's still around. So I'm talking about like over 30 years in the business, and she didn't see, you talk about somebody that's seen a lot of shit.
Right. Now, what is, for the internets that aren't familiar with the store you're referring to, Spectacles, what does she primarily sell? What do they have?
Well, Spectacles, I've always said, and she said this too, is that it's basically the shop for those, like who want to be unique and different. Like, she set the standard. Like, if any of y'all who are shopping at, like specialty boutiques now and thinking, man, this is the shit, understand this. There's a lot of elements that go into building a business now. Now, imagine doing that same business without Facebook, without MySpace, without the internet, and you're building a brand, through word of mouth and through, like your uniqueness. That's Spectacles. They've been doing it since I was born. And that's 1984.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Now, when it comes to your designs, is it a homegrown thing that gives you the creative thoughts, or is it like a little bit of everything you've seen and felt? And because I've lost a parent too, and I know that, you know what I mean. Like you said, the only thing you don't want to do is be right where you are. Yeah. So I know that factors in a lot of the thought process.
Yeah, and it's very difficult sometimes. Like when I talk about and especially my dad, because he was very I was like everything that, even like to the shirt that I'm wearing right now that says Isaiah Thomas was my hero. It's like I still remember the story of hearing my mom saying my dad watching the Bad Boys of the Pistons, and I guess there was a moment that was like, I think it may have been the Isaiah like throwing the ball to Larry Bird, and my dad had me in his lap and dropped me while I was in his lap, like, no! A star was born. So needless to say, I was gonna be a Bad Boys fan whether I wanted to or not. A lot of, truth be told, a lot of the inspiration early on was from him. So it's like a lot of the stories that he used to tell me, like going to the 20 grand back in the day, which was, if you don't know, was a old school club back in the day, the Motown era. So people like Temptations, Parliament Funkadelic, George Clinton, if you don't know the actual name of the group, like Diana Ross and the Supremes or the Supremes or Florence Ballard if you want to go that deep. So Coleman Young, who like he had his book autobiography, Hard Stuff, and one of the first things I remember reading, it was actually the first chapter, and was talking about introducing people to Coleman Young and how in the Manoogian mansion, you know, at the mayor's mansion, he had on his desk a nameplate that said MFIC, which stood for motherfucking in charge. So it's
that
like
surprise me though. Not at all. Not
so it was a lot of things early on that like that I was really inspired by. And another thing also for me, I'm a music head. Like, and I'm even to this day, like I'm still listening to cats like back in the day to understand. Like, I'm put it like this, and I feel bad because like I'm into hip hop and all of that, but like, do you know Funky Worm Bauhaus Players? Mm-hmm. Okay, like
absolutely,
you know,
DMX
like
use that sample.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like I've heard that many times, but again, you know how when you heard something but then you don't know the artist, because I think we're all used to fire, you know, and all that. So I didn't know, okay, that's Ohio Players. So I'm listening to it knowing Ohio Players, and then Junie Morrison playing that fucking keyboard, which pretty much would be the soundtrack for damn near every like gangsta OG rapper, you know, and like MC Breed, of course, you know, like, so it's like
ain't no future in your front.
ain't no future in the front, and you know, like, so I'm listening to that and I'm just like, whoo, you know, like as I'm printing, so I'm like trying to count. So it's like he really got me into music, you know, like for real. And a lot of that, you know, like is really what inspires, because I'll be, you know, headphones on listening to music and I'm taking the world in around me. All of a sudden, the shit just comes into my head. So I say, like, I'm not, you know, like everybody says, man, you know, like I came up with this and that. Like, I'll be the first one to say, I don't know how the fuck I come up with this shit. It's like I'll never forget this. And then like I said, I don't do too many interviews. Like people literally have to come to the shop to interview me because I don't hardly go nowhere. So this girl, and you can look it up, like I'm not lying. This girl interviewed me and she asked that question. So what's next for DSE? I literally said this. I have no idea. Because I literally don't. Like, I play it as it goes. Like, I've never really, in a sense, have had the quote-unquote traditional business plan, because my thing is that I'm not a traditional fashion designer. I'm not a traditional business owner. You know, like, I'm not a sneakerhead. You know, like, I'm not like, I don't keep up with the latest trends. But one thing I do is observe like a motherfucker. Yeah. And I take in everything. Like, the littlest shit. Like, the shit that sometimes y'all wouldn't even, like, think to look at, I'm looking at, and that's what I'm taking my inspiration from. So
let me ask you this too: when you were, I guess, coming up with the creative side of things, and you know, you said you had 6 months, you know, and you're like, okay, I can book out of here, do what I got to do. Was there ever any doubt, like while you were in this creative process, and let's say, you know, 90 days goes by, and maybe, you know, bills are still rolling in, not as many customers are coming in, people are coming in, you made a few sales here and there, and you were kind of sitting back thinking like, oh shit, like, you know, should I be doing this?
Well,
like, did you ever have any doubt?
Well, the reason why I didn't have too much doubt was, well, number one, because I had the, did work, you know, in photography, I'd at least, you know, made some, you know, connects and clientele. So it's literally like, as I'm doing photo shoots before I get a chance to open, I'm telling them, okay, that I have this shop getting ready to open. So it wasn't like, but when I opened, it wasn't to fanfare. It was literally, I opened the doors, let's wait for people to come in. And I'll never forget my first sale. Woman's name is Shahara Woodard, and dope lady, you know, like been knowing her literally since day one. I'll never forget it. She bought a yellow watch that I had bought when I was in Atlanta for like $10. I literally took that shit out of my like receipt book and framed that right away, you know. And I, like I said, I can remember it like it was yesterday. And I think the first day was like, my girl at the time was helping me, you know, like, cause I was sort of back and forth still getting stuff together, like, and those first, like really the first month was a motherfucker. And it wasn't really because people weren't coming in, because I opened the shop May 23rd, 2008. I'm opening it Memorial Day weekend, like the start of summer. Literally, I'm opening, like, I tell anybody who's getting into business, never open your shit in the winter unless your ass got some big ass money. Especially winter in Detroit, because you just asking to, like, you know, fail.
Not get attention.
Because nobody is bringing their ass out there. You got to literally be like Nike, you know, to do that shit. You know, you can't be
coming soon.
That's coming soon.
Yeah, coming soon.
Gilbert,
right down the street.
Right down the street. Right.
Just do it. You know, I won my fucking Air Maxes.
Yeah, exactly.
I heard your shit last night.
Get some DSE.
If I say anything that involves anything promoting any of y'all motherfuckers, understand this: somebody is going to get something off of what I say. I want my cut.
I want in.
Yes.
Because I know there's a lot of people listening, James, man, that, you know, are interested or intrigued. I know a lot of people, that Engineer B doesn't get response or feedback on, but there are people that, we have folks like yourself, entrepreneurs and business owners and aspiring business owners and soon to be shop owners of XYZ. They want to know, like, what's the process behind it? Because I think people think the worst of things first.
It's fear.
It's fear of,
fear of
what if
trying.
this doesn't happen? What if this doesn't happen?
Fear
And,
of failing.
Yeah, fear of failing.
Yeah.
And it's funny to me. I was talking to somebody else about it a few days ago, like, why is that always our thought process about something? Like, when we have this idea or have this thought, it's got to be a negative impact first before it is, hey, like, I could really be successful at this, or hey, really this could come true, like.
Well, I think it's not even being afraid, it's being real, like, and that was the thing to answer your question before. It's like, I mean, yeah, because, when I first opened, there definitely was a fear, because my biggest fear was, how am I going to sit in this shop and deal with people? Because I told you before, I don't like to go out. So it's like, I'm dealing with perfect strangers every single day.
Sure.
And I'm just now getting to the point, where I'm like, I'm comfortable.
Sure.
Because when I first meet somebody, I'm like, I gotta feel you out. I'm like a dog doing this, like sniffing you out, like, and figuring out, who you are. And it's like, there are a lot of people who I met over the years, like literally day ones who I still talk with. We good friends and all of that. And then there's some that like literally have gone by the wayside or, said shit behind my back or whatever. It's like peace to them. It's like I hold no grudges, but at the end of the day, motherfuckers keep on watching.
Now, have you had that crazy Detroiter experience coming in that out of control?
This could be a whole nother show and segment, so let's not get into
because
that.
internet's, you got to remember where James, if you get your Google Maps on, James' store is literally, within walking distance of, like you said, the YMCA, more importantly, the Detroit Opera House, and now, Comerica Park is right around the way. So you're talking game day and, drunks, and crackheads, and everything else.
Do you want a quick story?
We can get a quick story.
Okay,
We gotta get one.
and I think y'all like this, and I'll answer your question.
Gotcha.
So this is literally recent. Like, so it was actually, I think it was the Saturday, not the recent weather we've been having where it's been cool, but that first Saturday when it was like real warm and everybody was out, like that first little taste. So I have one of my partners who I ain't seen in a minute because he got his family life now and all of that. So he came by the shop and we just kicking it. He literally hadn't been to the shop since they built the Z lot, which is like so. Literally, we just talking the shit and all of that. We going back, and then all of a sudden we see these folks that are walking past, like a threesome, if you will, like two ladies, one guy, and there's one guy, and I don't know him, so it's like whatever, like, and he probably ain't gonna listen to this, but he had one of those like jackets that like fur jackets that just didn't lay right, like one of them woolly mammoth fur jackets,
not a mink.
Yeah, like if you threw that cross, that motherfucker across the damn floor would crawl and shit like that, that type of motherfucker. So he's walking back and forth. Now now the first time we really didn't notice, but the second time it's like they come back to the car, and it was sort of this back and forth thing with the car. So we looking like these motherfuckers can't get in the club. Now, just after they made their last trip to their car, this woman comes by, which I never say the B word. I just say, no, women, not B word, but people on the street, B word. I never say that word. I just say permanent residents.
Yeah.
Came by and was asking, like my man for some change. He was outside. So he gave him some change, or gave her some change and all of that. So she's walking back this way. Now here comes the threesome again. Now, literally, they're walking, and right behind them is old girl with the 75 cent. But here's the funny thing. She literally had her hoodie up over her face as she was passing by a window, almost to say, shit may be bad, but I ain't looking bad like these motherfuckers. And I'm cracking up laughing, like, because I'm, like, if you had saw it, like me saying it, you gets a little laugh. If you see this, your ass is rolling on the ground, because it's just the action of it is so fucking funny. And that is just a little chip of the iceberg of shit that I said. That's like I said, I could do a whole 2 hours of shit I've seen downtown.
Now that's the killer part. When you go out of town, you don't get that kind of shit anywhere else, right?
No.
That's all homegrown.
That's why
the crazy shit.
Here's the funny thing. I had a shirt that I came out with only in Detroit. If you from Detroit, you understand that shirt to a T, because you will never, like, I'll put it like this. I ain't never in New York, seen a motherfucker across the street yell at your ass and throw a chicken bone in your direction. That shit happened to me as I was sweeping outside, sweeping out my store 2 years ago or whatever. All of a sudden, this dude is like, hey! And then throws a chicken bone in my direction. And then, of course, in the back of your mind, you're like, what the fuck do you do? Because your parents ain't never told you what to do if a crazy ass motherfucker throws a chicken bone in your direction.
Nah, I never got that advice.
Yeah.
No, because who the fuck does that shit? I cannot fathom that shit in the back of my mind. How the fuck? And my man's is right next to me, so he's, of course, cussing him out. But I'm sitting back looking at the chicken bone like,
Yo, my man just hit me with a clean ass.
and that still ain't the worst. Like, it's still, and I love all my people. Like, the thing about it is, you know, peace to the world, and I hope that, you know, anybody who's dealing with whatever here is like, you know, somebody gives them the right direction. But that don't mean that there ain't some moments where you just sitting back and you had to crack a smile because this shit is ridiculous and funny as hell. You know, so yeah, it's like I've been flashed by motherfuckers. It's like, I'm like, no, this is so like, imagine a old ass motherfucking 50-year-old, you thinking somebody, you stole your shit, and he's like, man, I ain't stole shit, and pull his damn pants down to flash your ass. I'm like, yeah, it's real.
Ashy Larry giving you the moon doggy.
It's real for a business owner in Detroit. You know, it's like, I'm telling it how, like you said, tell it how the fuck it is. It's like, what was the question again?
No. You're good.
This segment has been brought to you by the BTF juice.
Yeah, BTF juice, and it's kicking in as all of our guests experience
I
once or
appreciate
twice on the show. Talk about other businesses, man, like in the area. So obviously you've been there 8 years, right? So you're alongside of this strip. Where there are other businesses that are next door to you for the most part. Talk about even not even so much next door to you. Talk about the people just in your surrounding area where you've seen. Where do you think people fail at?
The
when they go to
comings
open
and
their
goings,
business?
right?
Yeah.
Well,
where do you think people fail at?
I think the one thing that, you know, a lot of people need to understand about Detroit is that there is a trust factor, you know, like when you're opening up a business in Detroit, because you got to think, I mean, early on, you know, like when it wasn't, you know, like, you know, the new Detroiters moving in, you know, like where it's like we really were
Well,
like
a lot of white people.
wonderful people. You know, like,
Wonderful people. Exactly.
Wonderful whites.
Yeah.
yes.
Wonder Bread.
Not as many beautiful, but a lot
Yeah.
of wonderful. You know, like, but yeah,
I'll say it, James.
Yeah, they gonna fuck
Don't worry.
me up.
Yeah. I'll say it.
Nah,
So you're saying Wonder Bread then?
No,
Yeah,
I put it like this. I got a boy, you know, and he knows his name, you know, like where I just say, dude, you're like, you know, he'll say it himself. He's light skinned.
Yeah.
You know, so it's
Absolutely.
like, you know, so I love, you know, like I said, I love everybody that comes in there. And they're like, my thing is that it doesn't matter who the fuck you are. It's just like, we joke because we people, we
Right.
love each other. Let's joke. Fuck that bullshit. It's like, let's like be people. And most of the people who come in the shop, no matter who you are, it's like, it's always love. And and that's sort of really the main thing, you know, like, going back to the neighbors is that, you know, when you're opening up a business, first thing is you talk to your neighbors. Like, you know, you let the people know, hey, I'm new in this, you know, area, and introduce yourself. Because me, like I said, I was 23 when I opened. Now, with the exception of Zaina, you know, which I was joking with her when I first opened. I was telling her, like, you're going to have to wait till it opens. Like, oh, you going to have to wait? Like, no. But she knew me. So it's like, it wasn't a thing, you know. But everybody else, it's like I knew Mike, who opened his coffee shop, which is not there anymore. I knew the GOAT, but unfortunately they closed. And I still to this day hate that shit because it's like the GOAT, like if you a sneakerhead, it's like they had some shit in there that I thought was like, damn. Like, remember them what is it, the what is it? I think it was the SBs or whatever, but the notebook SBs or whatever.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. The back to school pack, yeah.
They had them motherfuckers out before they even hit Foot Locker, which was like a year, 2 years later,
Yeah.
whatever. They had them motherfuckers.
Already.
You know, and
Hope they wasn't from Canal Street.
Oh yeah, yeah. They
Canal
weren't.
Street special.
They weren't from Canal. They were the real deals. I know because I photographed them.
Yeah, okay.
motherfuckers.
Gotcha. Done deal.
But yeah, so I mean, it was like, you know, they had some real dope stuff. I mean, the only problem was, and this goes back again to somebody opening up, you know, in the neighborhood. Like, there were a lot of things that unfortunately weren't taken care of, you know, like before they opened. And it's like, you know, I understand my mans who had the shop, you know, he was sort of, you know, like back and forth between New York and Detroit. And, you know, they weren't able to monitor everything. So it's like when you're not able to take care of everything, it's like if you lose that focus, you know, some people lose focus. They just say, F it, you know, like I'm not going to deal with it, you know. But then there's some who underestimate their, you know, like demographic. Like, I'm gonna tell you this, you know, it's like you look at, you know, some businesses who have opened recently and they gone like that, you know,
Right,
like
right,
you know,
right,
especially those that are like high priced items and shit like that. Because you got to think, I was telling somebody and keeping it real when I was at Shanola and all of that, and it's like no diss to them, but it's like there ain't nobody in the hood who's spending like $2,000-$5,000 for a damn bike.
So that's what I'm asking you too.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sherm. Go ahead.
No.
I was gonna say, like, do you think you need to be, regardless of Detroit, if you're opening a business in your hometown or somewhere near, do you think you need to be a resident or stay close or in the city that you're opening your business in, or do you think you can still live 20 miles away and have your own?
Well, I'll put it like this. If you're a police officer working in the city of Detroit and you live out in Livonia and your job is in Detroit and you can't know the people who are around your neighborhood, that's not fair to the person who's there. And I'm not saying that, like everybody needs to live in Detroit, because I know people who, like, what you call it, whatever I'm trying to say, commute, like back and forth.
Right.
But I think it's very important, like, because, the one thing about that I tell, people about Detroit is that, like, I was thinking about this today, and I said, like, if you think Detroit is one thing, then you need to get your mind out your ass and free it. It's like for real, because there's still a lot of people who are like, ruin porn city, most violent city, and all this. Like, I lived in Detroit my whole fucking life. I yet to this day got a bullet hole scar on my motherfucking body. In fact, the only scar I got on my head, I got when I was living in Atlanta. No diss to Atlanta, but I'm just keeping it real. It's like, so to me, it's like, I know Detroit, there's still a lot of areas that it's like, and it's not a thing, it's like, I don't know, it's just, I got no interest. I got, people who literally will come into the city, and it's like, who want to see the worst shit of Detroit.
Right.
Like sometimes it's because they want to, sometimes they're forced to, but it's just like, I remember when I was doing a photography assignment, I was doing assisting work for this photographer, great brother, his name is Wayne Lawrence, and he was doing a piece for National Geographic. And of course, the people who are working, that he's working for want him to find like the ruin porn, like the worst Detroit. Now, here's the thing. It's not that I don't know about it. It's just, I don't go looking for it because I'm in the city every day. Sure. So it's not like I'm searching to be like, well, where are the worst desolate areas?
That's day-to-day shit for us.
Yeah.
I mean, we never thought about it, like ruin porn, quote unquote.
Yeah.
What the hell was that?
So when you're living it every day, it's like for me, I've always taken offense to like people who either use the Detroit name or, and it's not a thing of, oh man, you got to be in Detroit, but it's like, dude, you don't understand. Like, I'm a graduate of DPS, and this is before DPS went to the shit that it's going through right now. It's like, I remember, like, I had to hide, the fact that I was as artistic and creative because motherfuckers want to fucking give you shit about it, like, and fucking, like, that type of shit. Yeah. Like, I got bullied, all that type of shit is like, kids, like, and all that. It's like, don't let motherfuckers deter you at all, because the thing about it is that you got to be stronger, like, and I've been through a shit ton, like whether it been going to school or, back and forth between Detroit and Atlanta when my mother remarried and all of that. So it's like I've been through a lot of shit. But the thing is that I never let it deter me from wanting to do what I wanted to do, and which was always to create and try to be myself. And it's very difficult. So, for anybody, like I said, and this is a lot of shit I'm going through in Detroit. So it's like there is a mentality of like, you always, until the day you are born, till you old and gray, you always going to have people who are going to be like, no, the crab in the bucket mentality. Like, if you doing something, motherfuckers want to attach to you, so when you're dealing with that element, and you're dealing with the element of DPS, you're dealing with the element of, like a city like I'm born after Hudson's closes. You're dealing with a fucked up downtown, growing up in the crack era and shit like that. Chambers Brothers, like YBI, all that shit. And I never experienced any of that. Like I was very fortunate that I never was around that element. But the thing about it is that I still know people who were,
Right. It's all around you.
Yeah. So it's not like it's a thing that I'm foreign to that shit. So when you're around it, and you see it, and now you decide I want to be a part of the movement for something positive because you've seen a shit ton of negative, it's like, why in the flying fuck would I give a shit about anything ruin porn? And you got motherfuckers who glorify that shit, like this is the greatest thing, and you can look at it as art as you want, but you got to remember that there are motherfuckers who live there. This is not a blank fucking canvas.
Right. B.
So speaking of Detroit, you have a shirt and a fleece out that I really want. It says DSE on it, but it says Detroit still exists. Like, what was the mindset of you creating that? Was that to rival like the Detroit versus everyone, or is it more of a we're still here? Detroit still exists and we're still doing our own thing.
The thing is that I got like I said, I got love for everybody and respect everybody who does their thing. But I think there's an element that and the difference between me and anybody else who does something Detroit basic, and I think there's only a few that I can really put in the category of like people who are really holding it down for the D. Like I still feel like I'm paying my dues. But when I did Detroit Still Exists, I'm gonna tell you, truth be told, the concept of that came about when I literally was playing on my phone on like Instagram. So I'm like literally like thinking, because at a certain point I didn't want to be like, I have a store downtown, come and check it out. Or when I post stuff, like we got this new shit in. So I said, I got to be creative. I got to be witty with this. Like, find ways to promote it without promoting it. So after a while, like on my bio, I was messing around with DSE and like thinking of acronyms. And the first acronym that came about was Detroit Still Exists. And I'm like, this is a gift from God. Like, I'm like, oh my God. I literally took it off the bio right then and there. I'm like, I'm hashtagging everything that says Detroit Still Exists. I'm like, so I'm like, I had to get this thing made. And what was crazy is that if you notice, if you went on the website, the font that's used for the Detroit Still Exists is actually the same font that I use for the actual logo.
That's what I'm looking at right now. So that's why I was like wondering what was the the creativity behind that, because I'm looking through your store right now and I'm seeing a lot of good stuff. Like I love the Isaiah Thomas was my hero shirt.
It's not a Grant Hill. Fuck a Grant Hill. You need to make that shirt for me.
God,
a one of one.
I'll put it like this:
a one of one. Fuck a Grant Hill. BTF.
11-4, like the best backcourt, Joe D and Zeke, and then the next team that won it was Ben Wallace, Rip Hamilton, Chauncey. Grant didn't win one. He should have stayed.
Exactly.
He should have. Can you make a Bill Lambier was my hero?
I don't know if I can do that because then it would be biting off my own. But trust me, it's like I probably will do something that'll like and that's again like where you're going back to the creative process of Detroit Still Exists. The concept of that alone was just, and I'm going to tell you this. Just imagine the person, who's been there. Like I said, I've been there for 8 years, and I know people who've been there longer. It really is now an element when you're seeing anything that's being promoted about something positive about Detroit. And anybody can use the excuse, well, there's ample opportunity for everybody who's been there, and we're trying to work with people who've been there. I'm like, you know what? I still remember when I had a so-called, oh, I know you, and boom, 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 boom. Like these words to me mean nothing to anybody. And I'm going to tell you this. Oh, I tried to get in touch with you. I'm like, motherfucker, I got a store, I got an Instagram, I got a Facebook, I got a MySpace if you want to search that, and I got a Black Planet, and you can find my ass on Google. There is not no way that you cannot get in touch with me.
He said a Black Planet. Wow.
Oh, I'm giving every avenue. And I just joined Snapchat. I'm not saying the name yet. But yeah. So
BMW.
So it's like, for me, when I hear, the so-called we're involved with, like the neighbors and all of this, bull fucking shit. Like, plain and simple. I have heard about tours that pass by the Fox Theater and will mention that it's built by C. Howard Crane, but won't mention that this was the main hub for the Motown Review. That's fucked up.
Right.
And that's why I think that the element of Detroit Still Exists is like, I'm going to tell you this. You got cats who are still alive who can remember the 67 riots. You got cats who are still alive who can remember Black Bottom Detroit.
Mr. 313.
Mr. 313, we got Mr. 313. It's Ray DeLoach himself. These old motherfuckers.
So it's like it's always a treat when real folks meet. That motherfucker. So it's like we're literally like my grandmother, 88 years old. I can talk to her about anything. The Flame Club, 20 grand, whatever. Like the old school Detroit. And the thing about it is that. The reason why, and you're talking about the shirts on there, with Detroit Still Exists, is just the element of the fact that, what I see with the Detroit now is like literally someone taking like a piece of plexiglass and putting it over, like a lawn and not taking care of the lawn. They just want to put a piece of plexiglass over some new soil and then plant some new sod instead of taking care of the damn grass that's already there.
Right.
And it's the whole thing of, like thinking, well, something new that comes into play, must be must be better. And I'll never forget when I heard Paul Mooney on his fucking, one of his comedy specials saying, a new broom can sweep up the floor door, but the old broom knows where the dirt is.
Yeah.
So do you feel?
He also said too, a dry person, a wet pussy don't match.
Oh, that's
Oh,
true.
yeah.
Do you feel like, in a way, the direction that Detroit is heading towards right now is sort of how Vegas is treating their old strip versus the new strip?
And see, the thing is that I know a little bit about Vegas, so I can't even really compare it, because I think the best way to compare it, and this because I have experience, is Brooklyn.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you this. I got a lot of cats who come in from New York into the shop, and they say the same thing. Detroit is like what Brooklyn was back before it became gentrified, And I think that's a very big play, because the thing is that I'm about progression. I'm about, because let's face it, you had a lot of buildings in and downtown Detroit that were, abandoned for years that are now being renovated. I mean, mostly it's through one entity, Dan Gilbert, which I think, again, that's a problem, because I think you have to have other people involved, but I think it's just one of those things where, I'll never forget that there are cats, who I was talking about, actually what's on my jacket, Connors Creek Power Plant, which was the main power plant hub for the east side of Detroit. And they originally had 7 stacks, like it was 9 stacks altogether. They called them the Two Brothers and the Seven Sisters. I noticed because my dad worked for DTE. I always value myself on learning Detroit history. And the fact that when I told this cat who supposedly is coming into the city, this is the new Detroit, no. And I tell him this little bit of information about Detroit's past, and he don't know shit. I'm like, this is not the motherfucker, used to be. And not Dan, but just just people, who are in that circle.
Right. Do you feel like internet's listening in, right now? Shout out to you, James, and DSE. What else can they expect from you and your shop? What is the experience if someone's visiting the city of Detroit? What is, your differentiator from all these other smaller stores or boutiques? What can they find in the shop if they come to visit?
Well,
that's not in the web store, I should say.
That, main thing for me is that, and you were saying about, being inspired by other businesses. I'm going to tell you the business that inspired me the most, and they're not even from Detroit. They're out of Brooklyn. Is the Brooklyn Circus. Okay. I remember I went to, it was actually my aunt that put me up on game on them. And I remember I went to their flagship store in Brooklyn on Evans Street, and I was taken aback because, number one, I never seen a place so immaculate, so well kept. And oh, by the way, it's brothers that own it, and I'll never forget that, when I, because I bought a shirt from there. And they gave me my receipt, and they had it on this vintage clipboard. At that point, I'm like, I'm going home. I got a lot of shit to do. Yeah. So it was literally almost after that I did my full rehab of the shop. Okay. And I literally was going through everything. I read a lot of interior design books, do a lot of research. So my whole thing is that, I'm not competing with anybody here in Detroit. Sure. I'm competing with motherfuckers who ain't here. Yeah. And I think that's important. I think the problem with sometimes, a lot of us here in the city is that we feel like, it's all about the city and all that. And there's some that, think worldwide, but a lot of us don't think beyond the city. And that's the one thing that I've always made sure when people walk into the store that they don't feel like they're walking into a store in Detroit. Mm-hmm. You are getting the Detroit experience because there are a lot of pieces in there that, celebrate the heritage and the history of the city. But, the one thing you don't find is, again, it's so blatant. With the exception of now, I got a big ass Detroit still exists decal on my window right now. Right. But even then, it's it's drawing y'all in. It's like Dave Chappelle talking about, the Bay. Got him, bitch. It's that shit. Yeah. So it's you got to find a way to draw people in. And my thing is that, I was in a building where, for the most part, most people who come in there, they're not trying to upgrade their establishment. So I literally, people thought I was crazy when I'm tearing out, tile, rebuilding, first carpentry real project, building out my storage and all this. I literally took a month off. And this was back in 2011, and redoing the store. So that way, when people walk in, the experience is like nothing else. And I'm going to tell you this. There was nobody in Detroit, and I know this because I've been to every single boutique who was doing the type of motif that I was doing up until then.
And it looks beautiful, man. I know. Yeah. I've been in the shop right around the time you first opened to the time and where it is now. I mean, even just with outside, like right in front, like you've got the tree,
Yeah.
set
Yeah,
up,
the
like
planter,
the
yeah.
planter, like everybody else on that block is just, it's just
there.
concrete,
Yeah,
it's just
yeah,
there.
yeah.
So yeah,
I
so-
mean that's that kind of thing
I
matters,
mean,
man.
I'm gonna tell you this: DSC was featured in what was it? I think it was Detroit Future City. Like my shop was featured as an example of what shop owners should do in
Yeah.
the city of Detroit. I'm gonna tell you this: I know for a fact, before I came into play, I knew what people were doing and I knew what business owners were doing. There's been a lot of influence, not from me, but from what DSC has represented. Like I said, because all of my inspiration comes from the observation. So this is from everybody, and these are things that I bring in and apply to the brand. So it's never me. But the thing is that when you sit back and you say, "Oh, no," it's like just like one of the shirts that are on there, who influences the influencer. It's like I'm not expecting people to be like, DSC is your inspiration, but I'm gonna be like this. I know all of y'all, and we've had conversations, and all of y'all been in my shop, and y'all have done a lot of this, flicking through shit and looking through shit and asking a lot of questions. So my whole thing is that coincidence be, coincidence is. I think there's too many coincidences. The fact that there are a lot of things that I've seen, and I've always kept my mouth shut because it's like I'm not trying to be like the one. And again, I'm not saying anybody's names.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's just like I've seen the people who have taken, like from the things that have been offered from this brand. I put out over 100 different designs.
Nice.
Like there are a lot of shit that nobody, and I mean nobody, was fucking with. I remember when I first came out with Support Detroit, I had motherfuckers who didn't even want to wear it if I gave it to them for free because they didn't want to have Detroit unless it was a Red Wings or shout out to y'all, Blue Tiger Fitted.
Yeah.
They didn't want to wear nothing else that was Detroit outside of that.
Sure.
And you mean to tell me that, like certain powers that be are, like the faces of Detroit? Motherfuckers, we started this shit. Y'all just like lynching on.
How does it feel being one of the key persons? You when you look at it, it's like Ghostface on I forget what album. He says, "I don't want nobody sound like me." You know what I'm saying? On the Purple Tape, I think it was.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about it is that there's not been anybody who has come close to what DSC has represented, because when you already have in the back of your mind that you want to be, and I know it's a cliche now because everybody wants to be different, but you're talking 2008. We were still on, like colorful shit. Like, like even my own sign was black, white, purple, and turquoise, or magenta and turquoise.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember that.
you know,
I remember that.
but when the Support Detroit came out, it was stark black and white. I mean, I had people saying that should be more graphic. It's too simple.
No, it was like the you remember the old school label makers? Like it literally was like that kind of font, like going across like the shirt. It's one of them shirts actually.
Yeah,
black and white shirts.
So it was literally like at a time when everybody was trying to be loud and like all over the place. I was keeping it simple. And that in a sense is, like I said, that's creating a whole new avenue, and really sort of starting the trend to really what is now. Because if you see it, you don't really have too many, like cats who are wearing, like stuff on their shirts and all of that, or real graphic. It's very simple now. It's like Kanye talking about he knows shit fashion. Well, nigga, I know trends before they even come around. Why you need to talk to my ass talking about you got the most creative motherfuckers?
I think his wife said it best. Kim Kardashian said it like,
What's that?
I don't acknowledge that person. I don't acknowledge Kanye's wife, because I think that if you give her the more attention, then the more she exists.
well, she said something like he needs to stop with his fashion because she hates it.
She said
Wow,
that?
Yeah.
really?
Wait, she came out like on Twitter and said that?
No, she said this in a magazine.
Damn.
She hates his fashion?
She hates his fashion.
But she's the main one that whatever. Anyway, internet.
That's like the pot calling the kettle
So
black.
let's do this, James. So what else
Another
can
week
the
with
internet
Kanye
see?
West.
Like again, before they log on to the store, what can they find? I mean, obviously we talked about clothing, so there's obviously apparel that you have. What else do you have to offer to internets?
There is
So another candles.
Yeah, the candles. Yeah,
Okay.
I was about to say that.
Should have brought one of those with you, man.
Yeah, you want to know something? All the best ones have already been sold. That's actually my line in the shop is that when cats, cats. This is when I'm influenced by my dad.
Yeah.
Like when people come.
Wine, baby.
Oh yeah, it's like if you heard me on a regular, it's like I don't talk like a 31-year-old dude that grew up, like in the 80s and 90s. I talk like my dad for real. He grew up in the 60s, and 70s. So candles, which is a soy-based candle line that I started, part of the lifestyle collection.
Okay.
So there are a lot of different scents. There's one that people really love, which is called papaya patchouli. which is itself papaya and patchouli. But there's another one that I have called Tanilla, which is a combination of Tahitian vanilla, tobacco, and sandalwood, which is like when I first mixed that, I was like, fuck.
Hey, you about to get a few babies out here.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you this. I'll be the first one to say that I done saved a lot of relationships over the years. It's like with some of the late minute gifts between like candles.
Light that candle, girl.
Yeah.
You'll feel better.
Fragrance oils that I've offered, bracelets, and all of them are all handcrafted. Like each piece that's in there, like I'm part of every part of the production, from the silk screening to the actual making of the bracelets. Like my mom to this day is like, you do too much, like you could be Jamaican, it's like for
I got
real.
tree job, man.
I was just about to say, if you don't have that hustle to control 100% of your business, is being a business owner for you.
Well,
period.
it's just like Suge Knight said, if you don't own your masters, you don't own yourself. And
Very true.
And the thing is that when I first started, I originally was outsourcing my printing. It was actually a company out of Ohio that I was dealing with called Jack Prince. And at that time, we didn't really have too many outlets to silk screen in Detroit, so I had to search, but it was actually funny enough that one of the shirts that I was ordering was just like too much. Like I think I paid $14 a shirt. Now you're talking about wholesale with another company at that point. So that was at the point that I decided, and this was 2009, that I decided that I wanted to silk screen. And like literally I'm learning, like the last time I silk screened anything, I was 6 years old at a day camp, so it's like,
exactly.
so
Doing
I'm
tie-dye.
Not knowing.
Yeah.
shit.
So I'm literally on YouTube learning the whole process and learning as I go along. Like I fucked up on, like some initial t-shirts. I remember there's one person who came in with a Support Detroit t-shirt, and then he came back, the shit looked vintage, and I'm like, I gotta make sure this shit is right. So it pushed me to say,
one wash, goddammit.
Nah, so I couldn't let that happen. So the one thing I will say to anybody, like I pay attention to each and every piece that I create, from the little shit to the big stuff. It's like, so artwork there's in there, like, original artwork, framed artwork, like wall hangings, a little bit of everything. But I will not release a product, even if it has a speck of a little bit of ink on there. It's like, that's why if you got your order too late, I apologize.
Black Friday.
And notice that I called myself out.
Yeah, he did.
Yes.
I remember I was excited. I was like, okay, James got Cyber Monday or whatever it was. I was like, I'm gonna get some DSC shirts, man.
I'll put it like this, and I'm gonna set the record straight for anybody who has ever ordered, like, which I'm doing better, like with, producing, beforehand, to make sure it gets out, like next day or whatever.
Yeah.
But if anybody's ever bought anything and then it's been late, I apologize. I let people know this. I make this stuff literally made to order. So it's like, between running the shop, and this is why, like I said, like after a while, I'm gonna have to find somebody to be at the shop so I can just handle, the main production and process,
right.
because it is very difficult to run a shop 5 days a week. And even when you're talking about Sunday and Monday, you so exhausted from working that, it's like you got to push yourself to work. So it's so that's one thing that I say, when people come into the shop and they or go online, you're going to get quality. And my main focus is always, because at the time there was a bad rep for Detroit, that quality really didn't come from the city. And I wanted to make sure that people knew, okay, quality can come from the city. You get a quality product. So.
James, man, so give them the, go ahead, Sherm.
I was about to say that they say Detroit hustles harder. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, we're not going to go
And
with that.
No.
But
But you know what? Shouts out to Aptimal, because I know them cats. Them cats bought one of the first Support Detroit fitteds, and you're talking about cats who have their own line and they supporting what I do.
See,
that's
love. That's
so that to me is like, anybody who's in business and feel like that, you can't support none motherfuckers, he's doing what he's doing. I'm like, I shop at Spectacles, I shop at Aptimal, I shop at a lot of motherfuckers that are around the city. Because the thing about it is, I don't put Support Detroit on my shirt and not do the shit my damn self.
Yeah, and there it is.
Yeah.
James Morris, people, Blue Tigers Fitted. Give them the email or the IG, give them the Twitter, give them the website.
It's I'll put it like this, make it simple. All of it is DSE Detroit. Instagram, DSE Detroit. Twitter, DSE Detroit. Website, DSEDetroit.com. Facebook, DSE Detroit. I think you get it by now. But I hope I stick around, because I want to talk shit with
definitely,
y'all.
definitely, man. I was going to say, man, definitely stick around for topics. We're going to have a little time.
Okay.
So, Internets, this is James Morris, DSC. Stick around. BTF Sherm, engineer _BTF. And, of course, your hustles with the most, BTF Teek. We'll be right back to Blue Tigers Fitted, BlueTigersFitted.com.
This is Juan Neal, Loose Cannon Lifestyle brand, special sponsor of Blue Tigers Fitted podcast. Go to my website, shoplcls.com, and receive 30% off by using the sponsor code BTF during checkout. Buy my shit. I got a lot of good stuff: hoodies, t-shirts, skull caps, cats, dogs. I even got bracelets. I love these guys. Drink beer.
Yo, my first time here on Blue Tigers Fitted, I found out that Sherm was a scumbag, right? So we're going to call him Scumbag Sherm. Teek over here, and we also got my cousin B. Make sure you tune in, man. Get it subscribed on your iTunes. Make sure you get it on the SoundCloud and all the other outlets, because you know what? Your life would be better if you was on the Blue Tiger Fitted podcast. You and your mama. Her left foot, pig feet, hog maws, I'm talking salted pork, everything that'll give you the sugars and high blood pressure. Blue Tigers Fitted Podcast is LV. Appreciate y'all.
Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Engineer B from Blue Tigers Fitted, and I just want to let you know that the first couple of minutes of the second part of the show, there's a lot of, how can I put it, mistakes. Mainly, I didn't have the volume or the mic's volume up on either myself, Teek, or Sherm. Mainly, it was all focused on our guests, and mainly because we were recording a drop and I forgot to put up the volume on the mic. So, you will hear some, how can I put it, quietness, and some not, a lot of hissing and whatnot, so bear with it. It's just the first couple minutes of the second half. I deeply apologize. I do need to quit, or I need to have Tico not tell me to make a drop in the middle of the show and to do it after the show, because that way it's a lot better that I do it that way so that I don't not forget to do stuff. So anyways, enjoy the second half of the show. This is Engineer B from Blue Tigers Fitted.
Blue Tigers Fitted, BlueTigersFitted.com. Back at it again. Got my man James Morris in the studio. James DSE.
What's up, man?
Yeah, man. Hanging out for some topics, and boy, do we have them on 313.
I can't wait.
I mean, okay, let's probably get off into that real quick. 313 day. I mean, is it? No, I don't give a fuck.
Every
Third month of the year, and it's the 13th day. It's 313. But really, what the fuck is that doing for me?
not paying my bills.
Not paying my bills. At all.
Well, technically it could pay my bills, but I don't like promote it. So
yeah, there you go, man. Speaking of promotions, great segue. What didn't get promoted actually, and that was being held at a secret location. Here's the other thing that's kind of funny too. When was the last time you niggas heard of somebody drinking Martell?
Nigga, what the fuck you talking about? I done had it Martell. I got it Martell in the hand right now, man. We got some Martell. We about to get fucked up in them motherfucker.
Old school hood. That's some old school hood nigga shit right.
That's some 20 grand shit for your
Martell,
ass.
the internet, if you have not already seen Straight Outta Compton, you gotta go see Straight Outta Compton. You gotta own Straight Outta Compton in your DVD-esque digital downloads, whatever it is. Yeah, if you notice in the movie, they've been promoting Martell like a motherfucker in the movie because that was like 93.
I didn't even notice that.
Sit down and watch Dr. Dre at the Eazy-E's pool party when he goes to meet his wife or whatever. He's got a big-ass bottle of Martell in his hand like, yeah, what's up? Then you go and see when, this is totally sidebar what we're talking about, but then you go and see Jerry Heller and Eazy-E comes over to his house. He like makes him a fucking sandwich or some Kung Pao chicken, and it's got a big ass thing of Martell. Like, it's a bunch of plugs of Martell. So
Also product placement.
yeah, product placement in the movie. But I didn't catch it again. James, you spoke about that with music, but yeah, I didn't catch it until like the fourth or fifth time watching Straight Outta Compton one night. Like, yo, it's not a Martell placement in this goddamn movie.
Yeah.
So apparently,
I still need to watch it. I have it.
we're gonna get it, man. We're gonna get it, man. But apparently, talking about things that hadn't been announced. The Roots, aka Jimmy Fallon's black band, aka. I can't point it like
Here's Jimmy.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Black Dog. Yeah, exactly. According to the Oakland Press, this past Wednesday on March 9th, Roots obviously do the episode. Tonight's show, Jimmy Fallon. But it's also no surprise, that when they showed up in Detroit, actually, at an unannounced location, it happened to be at the Garden Theater in Midtown. And the article kind of goes on to say the Roots nearly had an 80-minute set that was a partnership with the cognac maker Martell and the Vanguard Experience event, which paired the band together for a special invitation-only shows for the Roots and Martell drinkers. So pretty much a bunch of niggas that,
Don't give a shit.
They're at the.
What's funny is everybody's at this Martell event asking for Hennessy.
Yeah, exactly. So the group previously played in St. Louis and Atlanta prior to Detroit. Frontman Black Thought told reporters before the performance that it was well worth the mad dash into town and flying back to New York immediately for Thursday's Tonight Show taping. His quote, this is sort of the event that's usually more intimate. You got to connect with the audience to get on a different level. He also noted there's a bit of nostalgia involved in the size of the venue. The sort of performance is what's built our career on, so it's always fun, unquote. So the Roots played that set pretty much without pausing in between songs, and kind of like a mixtape style approach that included bits of, Kool and the Gang's Jungle Boogie, Stable Singers, Respect Yourself, favorite things on Sound of Music into the mix and the whole nine.
Please stop.
The show finished with the lengthy version of Can You Dig It, instrumental.
The thing is that have you guys seen a Root show yet?
I have been to a Root show years ago.
So this is kind of. Do they do it off the cuff or?
They because they got like the Tonight Show, like almost every day. It's like because
I'm
gonna tell you this. The last Root show I went to was actually at Pine Knob / DTE. And it was actually the Rock the Bells. And it was actually before they signed up with Fallon, and it was great. But I mean they had a short set because obviously you got many acts there. But it's crazy because again, like you're saying, who the fuck drinks Martell? And two, it's just like, I talked with someone about this and said, well, you got to sign up, to get their stuff. First of all, if motherfuckers don't know about shit, how the fuck are they going to sign up? So my thing was that I'm glad there was a who's who, but I bet money that most of the cats there probably wouldn't know a Root song that bit them in the ass.
And that's the killer part about it. You don't get any true fans. There's probably a few true fans in there, but there's no, you would want the whole room full of diehards in there to know all your shit.
Because they're going to appreciate the hell out of it. So, I mean, you heard him say it was cool to feel the intimate experience, but you notice he didn't say anything to say the crowd was just like into every single thing that we were doing.
Yeah, he probably had a bunch of wallflowers and motherfuckers texting on their phones throughout the evening. Yeah, like now that's one show because I've caught Comment Live. The Roots is on my bucket list. I can only imagine what the hell they're gonna bring to the table.
Yeah, but you got to catch them in a moment where it's like it's like just like I was telling you on the break, like KRS-One show where it's like, and I mean, I hope that like I put it like this, you may have to fly to New York for that one, catch
exactly.
Yeah.
It's just weird, man. Like when they do those shows, I guess it's a cool thing, but it's a thing that kind of sucks ass, like you said, for the core fans. You would want to announce it. It's got to be the who's who, so to speak, the people of Detroit, the business owners, the movers and shakers, but whatever. Such is life.
To the old school folks who still drink Martell.
Yeah, to the old school folks who still drink Martell. We see you niggas.
I mean,
we drinking it in a glass just for you right now.
I guess I'm the
One
only
person
one
get a glass.
that's not really butthurt that that no one knew about this and they had held in a small venue.
You got to be at one of their shows. Like
I mean, it's on my bucket list, but I'm not gonna cry over it because they decided to do this unannounced and whatnot.
Money
I'm not gonna
Martell.
get all butthurt about it.
Money in Martell.
I'm like, I literally live right down the street from Garden
That's
Theater.
the
Like,
worst part.
any of y'all niggas could have said something.
One of you motherfuckers.
Like, Roots are playing. We got to invite. Y'all not my friends no more.
You're not my friends.
And I can't identify you. That's the fucked up part about it. So.
Talking about real friends, though. Crazy story. Shout out to Complex here for putting up the story. Puerto Rican man the whole cigar or cigarettes actually while chilling in his chair with his eyes open at his own funeral is what the headliner reads. And this is the family of Fernando de Jesus Diaz Bito. Was a 26-year-old Puerto Rican man resting comfortably in a chair at his own funeral with the funeral home responsible for the
dead, motherfuckers.
Right. Services calling his move historic. Diaz, he was tragically shot 15 times earlier this month at a villa in one of the neighborhoods of San Juan. So people, if you're frequently visiting Puerto Rico, stay the fuck out of this neighborhood in San Juan. But yeah, they have no leads, of course, to the alleged murder. of course. So even in Puerto Rico, it goes down. But quote, one of his family members said that everybody is really surprised because seeing him like that is like seeing him if he were alive.
Oh my goodness.
This was his sister describing her brother as a happy and active young person. He also said the family was simply wanted to remember him as he was. So according to the police there, the family agreed that they didn't want to see him lying in a coffin. So pretty much internet's, if you go on and Google Diaz, if Fernando de Jesus Diaz Bito, you can go check him out, propped up, sitting in a black label polo long sleeve shirt with joggers on. And let's not forget
I've seen the
picture. Bill Cosby sevens.
See, now this is some messed up stuff. See, I'm going to tell the people exactly how I feel about the situation, even though I'm going through my shit as we speak. Now, they were saying that they wanted to remember the person as lively and full of life. Well, you have a dead motherfucker set up in a chair, and no disrespect to the dead. Like, let the dead bury the dead. But if I were, and I know Bill Cosby doesn't curse, but in this case, what the fuck?
I mean, I can't agree anymore. Like, it says cigarette, but that clearly looks like
that is
like
where I'm
weed.
from, a Philly blunt.
That looks like cigar weed.
No, that picture of him propped up with his eyes open looks creepy as hell.
Yeah.
You know what? If people want to remember me by what I look like, there are pictures.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck? I'm like,
dude.
if I'm in the one in that damn like funeral home, like, what the fuck? What the fuck did you do?
I'm like, okay, seriously.
First off, who is the funeral home? Because they are being underpaid.
They said it was one of the best moves, more creative moves, is what they said.
Can you imagine?
But you know what? But you know what? I am going to say this because that's not the only scenario. Like, there are some crazy ass scenarios of like people who doing stuff like that. Like, case in point,
the Weekend at Bernie's style.
Oh yeah, like there's motherfuckers who literally like were propped on a motherfucker who was propped on his motorcycle and paraded down. Then this in clay, whatever I'm trying to say. I'm a little drunk now, whatever. But encased like plexiglass, and then he was dug up. And then there was another motherfucker in Pittsburgh who literally they had him like dressed like he was on his recliner watching the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, there are people. I mean, we got our own.
Would you want to be remembered like that?
But the thing about it is, we got our own Maserati Rick. Remember when he was buried in that like big ass like Mercedes Benz like casket or whatever?
I probably want to go out like banging a chick. Like, could I have like someone else?
Well, what does they say? Coming and going at the same time.
I wouldn't want to be remembered like my man that flew out the goddamn Toyota sunroof, jerking his balls to porn.
Oh, he was injecting all right.
He was coming and going.
Shout out to the family.
No, I'm just saying, man, that is not how you want to be. I don't want to be remembered, on the fucking recliner couch with a beer in my hand. On some fat shit. Like,
he was on a rocker.
I'm gonna tell you the best shit that I ever heard, and it was Eddie Griffin. Shout out to him. Was like he was on one of his shows, was talking about when people passing by their casket, talking about at my casket, I don't want at my funeral, I don't want anybody coming by my casket talking about, man, it still look good. If I look good, I should still be motherfucking alive. I want motherfuckers passing by my casket like, God damn, I see why that nigga dead.
Yeah, man.
So why the fuck would I want to see a motherfucker who look like he alive when I can touch him and be like, he's dead?
I mean, at that point, you're like a mannequin.
Yeah,
a former living mannequin. This ain't Mannequin the movie. They ain't coming back to life.
Designing women. Who's my man?
Meshach Taylor. Rest in peace.
But his eyes being wide open, bro.
The Demarius Martin.
Yes, man.
The Martin Funeral Home owner says that the tribute's most compelling aspect is that the eyes were designed as a surprise for the family.
Oh no!
He's surprised.
You're surprised. He just haunted the family for the next 100 years, bro.
He quoted.
Fucked up, and they had a damn like microphone in the back with his damn voice.
Oh my god!
Right, talking some shit
like a Teddy Ruxpin, where you press the button and all of a sudden his mouth starts moving. I'm like, hey, I am alive. Almost like
if you're like 10 years old in this man's family, you're fucked up for life.
You're fucked up already. That image right right
That's
there
what I'm
is
saying.
like you like, and that's the thing. You got to think about the kids at that point, because first off, I didn't want to go. Like, I'll put it like this. Let's just take it photo hands. Who the fuck wants to go to a funeral? Like, period.
Yeah, word. Yo,
They're kind of
But
overdose.
the funeral owner said, like, we've seen that the families wish to see the dead man just as they were when they were alive. The funeral home director went on also say that I think at this time this is the most impressive reaction of any work that we've ever done. In fact, Martin claims that Diaz is to be the first dead man in history to have his eyes open.
No.
So the Martins,
No.
so this Demarius Martin's establishment is considered to be a leader in the development of these inventive series. In fact, the creative approaches to honoring the passing of the loved ones may have plenty of the headlines in recent months. Last year, the wake of 23-year-old Jomar Kolzara garners the attention due to its own unique edition, Dominoes. At Kolzara's wake, it's also crafted in collaboration with the Martin Funeral Home, featured the man one last game of Dominoes.
I get that, but yo, if you plan on having your funeral with your eyes wide open, I'm not coming to that motherfucker. You're not about to haunt me for life. In that
First
bitch.
off, how can you prepare for that motherfucker shit?
You motherfucker out here might have it. Like, yo, when I die, bury me, as I
the
am,
booty
holding my dick.
Well,
jacking
here's
off
the thing,
pole.
though. Like,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
no. Well, here's my question. Like, afterwards, you gotta bury him, right?
Yeah.
Like, you literally have to move the body into the casket.
yeah, they gotta break the
So,
limbs and shit.
pallbearers, please come to the front.
like the pallbearers, can you please move the body into the
Who
casket?
the fuck wants to
And-
take that shit on?
Like, seriously, what you gotta do? That's
like,
what you gotta
If I was
do.
a pallbearer, I'd be like, yo, what size is them J's? man?
But like, the thing is, though, like, you have a guy in a
Please
rocker.
tell me the next story does not involve that motherfucker.
I mean, the guy is in a rocker. He's got his legs crossed. He's got his cigar weed in his hand.
First off,
and his eyes propped open. And then you gotta move him into the burial site.
First off, the dead cannot speak for themselves. So it's like, I understand you want to remember him, but I'll put it like this. If he had to come back to you in your dreams, he probably would sit back and be, why in the fuck? Yeah, because I would that to me, that's disrespecting. It's like, you might as well be fucking my body at that point.
Shout out to all of my Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico and Boricuas. But on a lighter note,
It's just fucked up.
It's all fucked up. It's all fucked up. What else is fucked up too, or who's been fucking up the money? NBA player John Wall. Shout out to Complex New Sneakers. Yeah, shut up, me. John Wall pretty much turned down a $7.5 million deal with Adidas because he wanted, quote, Harden money.
Harden money.
Harden money.
What did Harden get
7.5.
again?
7.5. Remember James Harden?
Yeah.
Ended up getting
Like 100.
135 million, something crazy over the course of like 10 years or something
Yeah.
like that.
They really said 7.5?
7.5
Like seven
per year.
But
Per year,
But
okay.
what is
That's
John Wall's brand in regards to James Harden?
Okay, so according to Complex, so
the
before
beard has got him a lot of money. Because
Yeah.
without the beard, you wouldn't know who the fuck James Harden was.
Yeah, so here's according to Complex article. Before the start of the NBA season, Washington Wizards John Wall became a sneaker free agent after a 5-year tender with the start at Reebok and then concluded with Adidas. Details on the dissolution have become pretty hard because they didn't find out the deal ended until 2 months after. But now learning about really what happened. So it turns out John Wall was with Adidas and wanted to stick around. So as far as going, as far as another offer, they offered the NBA star a $7.5 million deal a year, which would include more signature sneakers and apparel. Now, according to an article here by Nick DePaula, he's actually an ex-Soul Collector writer there, Wall declined the offer because he wanted, in quote, James Harden money, which would have been closer to double of what the brand was offering. So Wall signed the original deal with Reebok back in 2010 for $2.5 million, and then eventually moved to Adidas after Reebok shifted the focus of his basketball division. So both lines produced great, signature sneakers for each. The third lineup was with Adidas before he left. So now that he's pretty much a free agent, and his new agent, he's LeBron, which is LeBron James' right-hand man, he'll likely push for a deal with Nike or Jordan brand. So as of right now, if you've been following any NBA and if you follow John Wall as a player, he has currently been in Jordan sneakers over the last few months. So right now, like the French Blue 12s, probably internets when y'all hear this, they'll be releasing like a week from now. But he's been hooping in Jordans and some Nikes as of right now. Actually, shout out to Adidas. Adidas laces the kid. I actually have a pair of John Wall shoes that they sent me last summer.
I'm glad you said that, man.
Yeah, for the free ball. But it's interesting how it all kind of happened overnight. He wants Harden money. What do y'all think about that?
My thing is this, man. Okay. Shout out to John Wall. He is by far my favorite player to use on NBA 2K. Right? So I'll give him that. But at the same time, who the fuck is buying John Wall shoes?
Well, here's the thing, and I'm looking at statistics right now: 17.6 career and only 16.7 in the playoffs. You never been past the second round. Harden's been to the finals.
Exactly.
So, and John Harden again has a bigger name because right now, last time I checked, he's amongst the top in NBA scoring. You know, behind people like Steph Curry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, who right now can command whatever the fuck he wants right now. So it's like, John Wall, you got to step your shit up.
And he's not light skinned.
And it's like I said,
shout out to light skin, I guess.
I love that Wizards team. I love John Wall as a player, but man, you ain't won nothing yet. You ain't got no right to demand nothing.
Who's the cat from the Lakers?
Swaggy P.
Yeah.
Nick Young.
Yeah.
Less
What did I say? What did I say last time? Just win. Just win.
Yeah, and I'll bet you this: you'll have so many endorsement deals coming your way. It's like, look at Tiger Woods before he fucked up. It's like, you know, he had endorsement deals before he even like signed up to be a pro because they knew this dude was a winner.
Now Tiger knows not to leave voicemails.
Pretty much.
He knows a lot of things now.
It's a simple concept. Win, build your name, score.
And I'll put it like this: if it weren't for people like Jordan, you know, like, and of course Dr. J before him, it's like, you know, it's like you wouldn't even know, you know, like what a sneaker deal was. So it's like, understand this. And I just said Michael Jordan, Dr. J, Dr. J, Air Jordan. I don't know your nickname, motherfucker.
And that's a good point before, you know, we switch it up. Yeah. All these dudes don't need sneaker deals. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But you know what? Do you think that
It's a lot of
whose
dudes.
fault is that though?
It's nobody's
Is that the
fault. It's
brand's
just
fault? Is it the brand's fault for offering so much money as an endorsement, or is that the league's fault for?
I don't think it's anybody's fault per se. You know what I mean?
Like, is he wrong though? Like, is John Wall wrong for saying like, yo? I think he's wrong in the sense of like, yo, I want Harden money because yo, you're not getting that. Adidas was kind enough to say, yo, man, we still fuck with you because that's the thing I do like about Adidas is that they bring a lot of different athletes in, like under their umbrella, you know. And if you've watched any commercials, they always try to incorporate all of their major athletes, you know. Like that was one of the things I don't know, last week or 2 shows ago we talked about with like LeBron and Nick Young's thing. This last week, we talked about, you know, like he said fuck Nike because I think it was a couple episodes ago. They wanted to only focus on Kobe, LeBron, and KD, like their signature athletes, you know. But now like Adidas is like, yo, man, we know what you was making. Come fuck with us again, 7.5 a year.
But who backs a loser? That's my whole point.
Well, the thing about it is,
celebrate mediocrity.
You got to think. John Wall is a good player on a subpar team. It's like, and you know, like I think this is the era now where we got to, you know, I hate to because I know you got to go into another topic, but I'll make it quick. But you know, you got to think about like just I was making the point of Dr. J and MJ. Now you got to think about the competition that MJ had back in the day, and when you had the Converse pros, you had Mark Aguirre, you had Larry Bird, you had Magic Johnson, all these cats, you know, like who were endorsing this shit. But you got to think they were the creme de la creme, you know, even the cats that you got now, creme de la creme. It's like, I don't see a Washington Wizards game unless they playing this, what is it, Warriors or something like that. You don't hear about the Wizards. Yeah. Like, who works for the Wizards other than the people in Washington?
So hopefully John Wall lands this deal pretty soon. I'm sure he will.
Good luck, John Wall.
Yeah, good luck, John Wall. I'm like I said, somebody's gonna throw him a salute. It's already been in the media. He's been wearing Jordan. He's been wearing Nike. So it's gonna sway to one of those. But
always FUBU.
He can wear and ones.
Got us.
Looks. Or we can always go Under Armour.
You know, come to S.com, we got you.
Marvel's making, you know, big things always happen again. It always seems like every 3 to 6 months a Marvel movie always seems to pop up of something sort.
Like that, yeah.
So talk a little bit about that, man. What's coming
Captain
up next?
America: Civil War, the second and final trailer.
Okay,
nice.
Came out earlier this week, and
we all lost it, I think.
AKA the Amazing Spider-Man 3. Pretty much, yeah. or New Amazing Spider-Man.
A New Amazing Spider-Man / New Black Panther.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a Captain America movie, but / really is Avengers 3.
Yeah. Did you see the meme where they had a Captain America? It's like, this is my movie, but everybody talking about Black Panther and Spider-Man.
I have seen that.
I was cracking my ass up on that.
I have seen that. I was laughing too.
But that's the beauty of it, right, B? And to me, it's like when that trailer came out, I forgot all about the other movie that's coming out this month. You know what I'm
Batman
talking
You
about.
know DC is
I said that.
pissed.
Yeah,
You know what?
You forgot all about
No,
that.
you're,
Like, wait
you're
a
funny
minute.
you said that because I asked you guys that like offline. I was like, yo, what other movie we trying to check out this month? Oh shit! Oh,
Yeah, Batman
I
versus
just
coming out.
I
Yeah.
legitimately forgot
Yeah.
what you. Yeah, I
And I put it like this:
I-
you got people who aren't even comic heads who are sitting back like fuck, because everybody knows who Spider-Man. And up until that
Yeah.
point, you had pretty much like the second bananas of Marvel, you know, like being represented in that universe. And now all of a sudden, Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Fuck the sea, up the ass. I don't care if you come out next. Look out, because Spider-Man have fucked you up.
No, the one thing I like that, well, because it was reported earlier that Sony made a deal with Marvel to have Spider-Man in the Civil War movies and in future Marvel movies, so that Marvel can actually direct Spider-Man movies, which thank God it's been forever. But I'm just hoping the next Spider-Man movie is not an origin stories, because dear God, if it's another origin stories, I am going to shoot myself.
I doubt it. The killer part is I think Ant-Man's probably going to steal the show. Because he looked like he probably might have had the most exciting part of the whole movie. He's getting growing smaller and getting bigger, pause. And, beating ass left and right. But to me, that just sets up like, man, Marvel knows what the fuck they're doing. Because Ant-Man was a success, and now look how they intertwined them in the story.
Okay, I
and all
view
that.
Ant-Man was a surprise success because not many people knew who Ant-Man was.
Wait. I mean, what is it? I'm having a moment right now. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Who the fuck
exactly.
knew any of these
Exactly.
motherfuckers and it became
that
a
was a
hit?
good movie too, man.
It's the
That's
point
one of my
right now
favorite
where
movies.
like Marvel is like Jay-Z circa like 2000s, whatever. It doesn't matter what the fuck they put out. It's gonna
People
fucking
gonna
be
watch it, yeah.
People are gonna
It's
watch
like
it.
Jay-Z live on what is it?
Unless it's
Hot 90,
Fantastic
Hot
Four, then no one's gonna
97.
watch
yeah,
it.
freestyling.
It's
yeah.
like so. Yeah, it doesn't matter
But
at that point.
no, Ant-Man. If that scene where he was on Hawkman's Arrow,
Yeah, there you go. That's what it
there was an actual cover of Ant-Man on Hawkman's Arrow in the comic books, like back in the day. So the fact that they actually implement that into the movie like really excites me and stuff like that. So there's scenes in the comics that's really iconic. They're actually you putting into the movie that I really, really like a lot. And the interesting part is not just Spider-Man being in the Marvel movie. It's just that in the comic series, the actual Civil War, Spider-Man was a huge, huge part of it. I don't think he's going to unmask and unveil who he really is like he did in the comic, but he still had a huge role. And there was someone Photoshop or actually did a meme like a gif or whatnot of him wearing the Iron Spider-Man suit with the one that Tony Stark made for him in the comic books. It was really awesome. I like it a lot. But if they actually implemented that into the movie, I would have.
And that's what
probably needed
May?
to change my pants.
So what, 2 months out for that right now?
Yeah,
May 5th, right?
And you know what's funny? I was,
de Mayo.
I think it was one cat that I watched. Like I think it was I'm a black nerd or whatever, like black nerd comedy or whatever. And he was saying, and he made a good point. Like,
Andre, yeah,
Andre, the black nerd.
He's a friend of mine.
Yeah, he made a point where he was saying, like shout out to Andre, the black nerd. He made a point where he said Marvel could have literally just had like the moment where the web takes, Captain America's shield. And then the trailer cuts right there, and everybody would have had an orgasm.
No, seriously. Like all you heard was the webbing, and then being pulled away. You already knew.
Yeah,
who it was.
because I think at that point, there's still
dope.
people who are sort of feeling like, oh man, like is Sony really going to do this? Because I put it like this: it's like it isn't until you see it in front of you. Because I put it like this: it's like think about what Sony and Fox, like have put out. Fantastic Four, that remake, which was shit, so it's like at this point, it's like Marvel's like brash ass, like they want to grab as much from Fox and Sony as possible, but they take Spider-Man and like you said, it's like I've been waiting for Batman, Superman to come out and see what they can do with this because the last trailer they had for Batman, Superman
was cold.
When you saw, like Batman just stop like Superman, I'm like, shit, I'm seeing this, and then all it takes is for Spider-Man to go, hi everyone.
Yeah.
And basically,
but here's the thing though. In this in the Batman versus Superman, of all the trailers, they have yet to you have yet to see Aquaman at all.
Oh, yeah.
Good. Nobody wants to see Aquaman.
No.
Nobody
Vinny
needs.
Chase.
Nobody needs to see Aquaman.
No, see, the thing is though, like most people don't realize, like in the comic, Aquaman is really cold. Like he does not give a fuck. He will kill anyone
Swims through a bathtub.
B, you're not gonna fool me with this
No,
Aquaman talk.
he doesn't just talk to fishes and whatnot and whatnot.
Echo the dolphin.
I'm gonna tell you this.
I
A fucking shark ate me. Drink up, bitch. Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell.
Drink some Samuel L. Jackson.
So after,
I got a Dave Chappelle as Samuel L. Jackson for your ass.
so look, after a shark ate his arm, I'm like, yeah, I'm done with that guy. No, we're not gonna talk about Aquaman. You're supposed to be in control.
But
of
you
the
know
sea.
what?
A
I
shark
put it
ate
like this: after motherfuckers saw Batman, you might as well win Batman versus Robin or Batman and Robin, and you saw Bane, you like, okay, so they got Bane for the Dark Knight Rises. That's not going to be good. Or when Heath Ledger played the Joker, and you like, it should have been like
True.
Johnny Depp or whatever. So it's like, just wait. Because I put it like this.
Yeah, just wait.
There are a
man.
lot of
Just wait for
motherfuckers who are sitting back, like when it talks about Batman, and Michael Keaton was probably the best Batman. And I'm going to tell you this, and I thought about this for real. I think the reason why Michael Keaton was so cold as Batman, and they were giving him shit, that motherfucker barely said shit when he was in the Batman costume.
Oh no, that's right. He barely said anything.
It was his presence that was like, and that's why,
good point.
And you think about it, that's why everybody gets Christian Bale, because you think about this, like the
Yeah.
only thing that Michael Keaton was just saying, like he literally had maybe,
Come on,
like
punk.
maybe
Yeah.
a page
Words.
of that of dialogue.
Yeah.
You know, swear to me, where were the other drugs going? This city just showed you that it's full of people ready to believe in good. But Michael Keaton, he comes up to the damn villain like he's saying, "You're not just saving yourself. You're saving them. Shut up. You're going to jail." Like that's it. Who are you? I'm Batman.
Man,
Yeah.
that's a good ass point.
Yeah.
man. Oh my god. So
But
internet.
I'm really excited for this film.
Same here.
It's gonna lead up to the Black Panther movie, Ant-Man 2, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and I can't wait to nerd out.
Looking forward to internet's be on the watch, Captain America. But we rounded off with Engineer B and his 60 seconds of sports. Got a lot to talk about this week in sports. So B,
Yeah, well, yeah.
60 seconds worth.
Yep.
Take us away.
All right, so Calvin Johnson finally announces his retirement from the NFL that will join Charles Woodson, Marshawn Lynch, and Peyton Manning. And thank you, Calvin Johnson, for the many, many years playing with the Detroit Lions and giving fans a lot to talk and cheer for and all that stuff. So thank you so much from everyone here at BTF and in the city of Detroit. Michigan State and Michigan, pending if Michigan beat Tulsa by then, made it to the March Madness. Hopefully, by the time you hear this, they both will be making it to the next round. But I think Michigan State plays on a Friday, so they'll play and the next day by the time you hear this. If the season ends tonight, both the Detroit Red Wings and the Pistons will make it to the playoff in the wild card seed. So hopefully they'll continue this trend, keep on winning. Unfortunately, the Wings lost today, but they keep on this trending. They will both be in the playoffs. And that is your 60 seconds of sports with Engineer B.
Hey, Engineer B taking us right home under that 60 seconds mark. Internet's James, DSE. It's been a blast, my man.
Damn, it was done already.
It's done already.
It goes quick, right?
It goes
I mean,
for all of my Negro
Dude, I'm
friends.
gonna have to come back because I'm loving this. Like this
Appreciate
is so
it, man.
dope. Yeah, this
Appreciate
is very
it, man.
dope.
We appreciate you
Yeah.
coming out as your second interview,
Yeah.
man, to the show, and because I know you don't do these things, and I know you,
I don't want to do an interview next time. I just want to like
Just
talk.
chill. Just chill.
Yeah,
That's what we do.
because-
That's
yeah,
what we do, man.
because
That's what we
this
do,
is
man.
Hey,
very
open door
fun.
policy, man.
yeah,
Just-
man.
yeah,
Open
yeah,
door,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
Pause, but yeah.
Well, I put it like this. I got to Uber it out here, so when my funds allow me, then I'll call you, and if you got some room, I'll be like, fuck it.
Look,
yeah.
man, we're gonna come down to the shop. We're gonna broadcast live. We're getting some folks in there.
Okay.
BTF, DSE.
It sounds
I
cool.
already see it. in the works, my brother. So.
Yeah, like I said, you're more
So
than
a little
welcome,
disclaimer. I think I might have slipped and said the N word earlier today.
Sorry, DSE. Whoops.
Well, I think at this
It's okay coming from an educated black man.
I think at this point it's like we done said enough. I done said motherfucker enough times where it's like I could beat like Wolf of Wall Street. So,
Yeah, but you know, I feel bad still, so I want to put this.
my nigga.
I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it. It's
I've
like
just been around Teek and Sherm way too much.
don't worry about it.
My nigga friends.
I think Eddie Griffin said it best. There's nigga, like you want to do something, and nigga, like my nigga. So don't worry about it.
But James, man, we thank you. Internet's definitely go
anytime.
check his shop out, man. Check out DSEDetroit.com. Check out DSE Detroit on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Black Planet if you still got one. And the soon to be announced Snapchat as well, but definitely stay tuned for that.
If I even have anything to talk about on Snapchat, I just
That's all right, man. Just
we'll
post
try
that shit with music.
I'm
man.
still trying to
Yeah.
figure out what to put on Snapchat.
No,
You gotta get in the DMs,
before we leave, I got to say this
Do
one
your
thing.
thing.
I had a Snapchat moment literally last week. I went to fucking CVS over at the Renaissance Center, and I never seen this ever in my life. I get the like trying to get some Pringles, whatever, the dollar Pringles, and then I'm feeling that shit like the shit is light as fuck. The motherfucker went ahead, took all the Pringles out, put the shit back on the shelf, and then put the shit back over it like nothing was there. And I'm like, what the fuck? You might as well just stole the shit and called it a day. This motherfucker had the audacity to take the chips out and put the shit back like the motherfucker ain't there. I'm like, and not one, but two of them motherfuckers.
Oh man, he must have had a plastic bag and dumped all the Pringles in there.
But the thing about it, it's right at the door. Who the fuck wasn't doing their job?
There must have been no one there. But the thing is, like,
No, it's about to be West Side soon.
If it's in front of the store, then there's like security camera. He must have been covered up.
No. Remember what I said? CVS in the GM building.
Okay, never mind.
Fortune 500 motherfucker. I had motherfucker who basically stopped me when I brought my camera in, like, you can't bring that in, but you got motherfuckers walking out with Pringles.
That was just the motherfucker who worked there.
That's the motherfucker who worked there, man. Internet, we love y'all, man. Definitely stay tuned. We got some big things in the works. Again, at BTF Sherm, at engineer_BTF, and of
On
course myself
IG.
on IG, and of course myself at BTF Teek TEEK. We love y'all, appreciate y'all. Episode 30 Fizzor is in the motherfucking books. Internets, we get with y'all next week. Peace, love, happiness,
Peace, yo.
and all those things, man. We out.
Peace.
Later.